Welcome to the THA podcast for free thought and open minds. Hello, I'm Paul Obatelli and it's good to be back for edition 8 of the THA podcast, brought to you by Theo Humanist Arts. Here at THA we bring you weekly shows where we get stuck into many discussions and bring you all the best interviews we can get our hands on. Our talks include news, conspiracy, spirituality, the occult, history, art, fashions, music and anything else basically. If you have any feedback you'd like to send our way, we are a new show, and any ideas you got for the show, requests for potential guests or something you yourself would like to share with us, you can do so by emailing info@thapodcast.com. That's info@thapodcast.com. Now, just to put a little disclaimer out there, this is a very open podcast, and we look to bring all sorts of different opinions, views, faiths, certain things that are deemed outlandish, some pretty off-the-wall stuff, if you want to view it as off-the-wall. While we thrive to bring these kind of guests in, we have our own personal views and beliefs and do not automatically subscribe to the views of the people we have coming on. So please just take that as you see it. Do your own research and make your own mind up as we do. We also do not use the show to attack select groups or promote some kind of hive mind with one single agenda, which some groups do out there. We do have our own positions, our own faiths, our own beliefs, but we very much promote the freedom for everyone to have their own. That's where we stand here. Also, what I'd like to do is I'd like to throw a couple thank yous out there. Firstly, I'd like to thank Shoni Owens, who gave us heaps and heaps of recommendations and has gone out of her way to hook us up with some really interesting guests who we've got lined up for the future. Thanks a lot. Also, thanks to Jonathan Bolter for being very helpful. Today's guest is a woman who's highly respected in the occult world with a highly influential book called Leaves of Yggdrasil. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a very long word, or strange word rather. But it's a very influential book, particularly in heathenry. She's travelled through the world with a occult as a Wiccan, a high priestess of the Wiccan, a member of the OTO, and very much in heathenry. Without any further ado, we are now going to open this wonderful door in front of me because there's a man standing behind it and his name's called David Parry. Here we go. David, are you there?
Good afternoon, Mr. Obatelli. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. What have you been up to?
I've been under attack.
Oh, what with the flu, is it?
Well, with the flu, certainly, but also from people saying, if you're really this art guy, I don't know what that means exactly, why are you talking about wonderful things like clairvoyance and apparitions and so on? So do you have an addictive personality? The answer is twofold. Yes, I have an addictive personality. I love talking to you and this show. I love Linda McCartney's Vegetarian Sausages. And secondly, there is something called phenomenology for those people who haven't read any complicated books. Facts must be allowed to speak for themselves and not prejudged. So that is my answer.
Right, I think I'm with you with that one. But does that have anything to do with our
it
today's
means
guest?
Everything is valuable, and we have a remarkable guest today. I need to say something to get it out of the way. I count Freya Aswynn as a close personal friend of mine. She initiated me as a heathen.
Yeah.
She is our folk mother. She ordained me as a heathen to be a priest of Nerthus. I cannot say how highly I hold her in my regard. And also she's the living embodiment for me of phenomenology. She's been involved in so many different spheres of life. She's psychic, she's sensitive, she's a tour de force, and she brings the whole concept of phenomenology alive for me.
Stretching out, shuddering, like a half-dead thing whose feet are warmed, shaken by unknown fevers, shivering with piercing ice frost arrows, hunted by thee, terrible one, thou huntsman behind the clouds, struck down by thy lightning shaft, thou mocking eye that stares at me from the dark. Thus I lie, writhing, twisting, tormented, with all eternal pleasures, smitten by thee, cruel huntsman, thou unknown God.
That was some music from Freya Aswynn called Watan. And here she is. Hello, Freya.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm fine. I will give you a quick resume of my occult CV, okay?
That sounds really good.
Right. Well, I grew up in care, and I came out at the age of 19, and I took a job as a cleaner in a hospital. There I met an old lady who was into spiritualism, and she pointed the way to that. So I joined a spiritualist circle and stayed for a while. And then I walked away from that and got involved with the AMORC, Rosicrucian Order. Did that for about 7 years. And then when the opportunity arose, I moved to England. And I bought this book, Alternative London, and dated 1979 or something, and I went to England. I bought that book. Then I bought a book called Pagan Rituals, which was at that time produced by the Magical Child in New York. And what I did in it was a dedication ritual, pagan dedication ritual. Now, I'm talking in a time when the word heathen in Holland was synonymous with antisocial psycho, nothing to do with religion, or at best agnostic, right? Fancy me finding some real pagan and heathen stuff. The word pagan in Holland is heathen, and the word heathen in Holland does not exclusively pertain to Asatru. It's always been used as a derogatory term, right? Like a kid, if you were out of order, you were a little heathen, you know. So there is no positive.
Yeah, you still get that a little bit over here, I think, in England and now. Yeah.
But anyway, what I did, I was living with Pete Lemmers, and he didn't know English. He was an AMORC chappie, he didn't know English. So I put the priest, the initiator questions on a tape and left the spaces in between to answer my own voice. And that's how I initiated myself.
Right. So you initiated yourself into heathenry?
Into... No, not heathenry, more general paganism, the god and the goddess. Yeah. No, I had no names associated with any of it. That came much later.
So you felt like you'd been initiated into something, you felt your life changing, and so really these pagan groups like heathenry and Wicca, these groups they just complemented where you were at that point in your life.
Well, I was nowhere at that point in my life.
Yeah.
I went to England and I attended a meeting at Maxine Sanders' house, and there I met somebody who had Alex's address in Bexhill. What I didn't know and found out in the year 2000 was that Alex had every year he worked a different system. Egyptian one year, Celtic the next year, Aztec even, the other year. And the year of 1979, that the year just gone, they done all the festivals in the Germanic tradition, i.e. Germanic gods. I didn't know that. So far as I was concerned, all I knew about the runes was the SS and the Nazis. I did know fuck all, right? So I ended up on Alex's doorstep. He wasn't there. His high priestess told me that I was going to be initiated the next day, because they had a message from the inner planes. Didn't tell me who the message was from. So fine, I went along with it all. And the next day I was initiated by Jim Bennett, a Gagnerian witch, and Alex, obviously the Alexandrian originator. And I basically ended up a bit of a bastard.
Right.
You know, in the 80s you had the Alexandrian and Gagnerian wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was, right from day one, I was in the middle.
Right.
You know, one initiator was Gagnerian, the other was Alexandrian.
Because Alexandrian was the kind of started the new family tree, so to speak, wasn't it? So,
Abraham stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Abraham stuff.
Yeah.
And as I said, what I didn't know was that the whole coven had worked Nordic the year before. I had nothing to do with it. I didn't know, and I didn't want to know, because I come from a country where these things were all very, very fresh, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
The occupation, the war, and all that. So, but then I went back to Holland, and then in March I went back to the UK for the Quest conference run by Marion Green. And there I met Lionel Hornby. He was a member of the coven for Jean and Zach.
Oh, okay, yeah. Was that like another hived off?
No, it was pretty much an original Gagnerian coven.
Okay, right.
I think the oldest person there was initiated by Gardner himself.
Okay.
And even I have talked to people who were initiated by Gardner.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but they were all very, very old people when I turned up, of course. Now I'm their fucking age.
Yeah. But you basically, I mean, you were initiated into the very traditional, the starting point of Wicca, the first group of people that started the religion off. Basically, you were pretty much a part of that growth.
I'm a second generation.
Yeah, yeah. So when after you're into Wicca, what led you on to further things? What changed?
Well, basically, Wicca. The problem I had with Wicca was two things.
Yeah.
The gods were not my gods. I couldn't connect.
So it was a personal thing with you. You found something wasn't just quite connecting.
It wasn't connected. It was too Celtic and Greek.
Yeah.
Right, and it was not what I was looking for.
Yeah.
What I didn't know was that the Dutch god, Wodan, Donar, and Freya were basically Anglo-Saxon and Nordic as well.
Yeah.
You got to appreciate, I came out of the care system with no education whatsoever.
Right.
So although it sounds stupid, it wasn't. It was just lack of information available during my growing
up. I need to add something there. Freya is one of the most intelligent people I've had the honour to meet in at least a decade, and only the uneducated ever laugh at the self-educated. Freya is a tour de force in digesting huge amounts of material, which is made her own and which have evolved into very, very important and significant books, not only for heathenry, but the whole of modern paganism.
Yeah.
I mean, I need to say, Paul, she can be very, very humble in the wrong way. Right. You know, she's a high achiever, and certainly her voice in heathenry is second to none.
Right.
Okay. So,
a lot of people, they look at Wicca and it's got that female goddess sort of energy to it. How would you compare heathenry to that? Would you still find that heathenry is very much goddess orientated, or
no, not at all.
Right.
Quite the opposite. I tell you the story. When I was in Wicca, there was a lot of things, you know, people, all the ubiquitous sexual current around.
Yeah.
You had to allow anybody to kiss you and stick their tongue in your mouth and all that.
Right.
I didn't want that.
Yeah.
I thought it was unhygienic and dirty. I only wanted of Lionel, but not all the others. And all the cover members were male. And I just, Wicca was, I think the initiatic connection of Alex gave me was a genuine transmission of initiatic contact. But the Wicca movement itself, no, not really. All drinking and fucking, there was no philosophy. And it had no intellectual bite. Whereas when I found Asatru, I didn't know nothing. And it was a whole field of study and getting really involved and building it up from the ground onwards with no information except 2 academic books. And that was far more of a challenge than doing other people's ritual at a certain time of the year.
Mm. Okay, so other groups you've been associated with, I'm not sure. Have you ever had any involvement with the Golden Dawn?
Unfortunately, no. I was born far too late.
Right. Oh, okay. So, but I've read somewhere that you had some involvement with the OTO, or wrote about Thelema. So this is a very interesting subject because I myself, I've chatted on forums, and you get so much controversy with Aleister Crowley and people saying that he was one of the elitist, evil, demonic people that trying to do this to the earth or whatever. What are your views on all that? The OTO, Aleister Crowley, Thelema, where do you sit with all that?
Okay. Now I have to think. The OTO, I don't know what happened to it. It all fell apart. I was initiated in the OTO somewhere in the early 90s. And it was drinking and people shooting heroin. So I didn't last long there. But I've got great admiration, fascination for both Aleister Crowley and Kenneth Grant. So far as I'm concerned, Aleister Crowley, he was in his time, he was as controversial and sort of evil as I am now. Why was Crowley considered evil? Because of sex, drugs and rock and roll. Nowadays, nobody bats an eyelid.
That's it. Yeah, he was ahead of his time.
Was ahead of his time. No, I like the philosophy of Thelema. And I've read a lot about it, but it's like anything else. I do not follow other people's rules and rituals.
Yeah. So, that was what...
I need to add something.
As I said, when I was challenged at an Oxford Golden Dawn Society talk I was given, there was the old sister. And he stood up because this was the problem I had in the early 80s. You could not worship Norse gods because you were a Nazi.
Yeah.
So, in the very early 80s, I gave a talk in Oxford, run by Mogg, and there was the old sister. Are you a fascist? I said, no, I live in a commune full of fucking hippie dope smokers. Which was true, the Enclave. And then he said, are you a Thelemite? And I said, yes, in the sense that I accept, do what their will shall be the whole of the law. It is my will to serve Odin.
Yeah.
Not Crowley.
Isn't that remarkable?
It shut them up. It shut the fuckers up.
So you think if Crowley was alive today,
I'll have him for breakfast.
Do you think it'd still be a Thelemite, or do you think he would have moved on and changed himself?
Well, logic dictates that yes, he would have moved on because that is the way of evolution. Nobody stands still.
Well, that's it. I think that's one of the positive points of paganism. It's you get some of these religions where it's like signing a contract with God, and if you break that contract, you go to hell. Whereas with paganism, you're pretty much free to go where the wind blows you, aren't you? Where nature intends.
Yes.
Well, certainly Freya said something very interesting to me a couple of years ago, that when they enter, and I'm no authority on Thelema, I mean, I'm interested, I've not been a part of it, but she said something I thought was very much to the point. They all talk about doing their own will, but the minute they're inside it, they do Crowley's will.
Yeah, I mean, my personal view is I've read Crowley books. I keep saying Crowley, it's Crowley, isn't it? What was that poem he said?
Crowley of holy, not Crowley with Crowley. Yeah.
People hate me, treat me foully. I can't remember the poem, but yeah, I remember the poems. But yeah, Crowley. He when I've read any of his books, it's always made perfect sense. His poetry's been awesome, and it's been really good. It's just the outside, what the propaganda you hear about, like, his wife killed himself, he done this, he done that, and everything. But when I've researched a lot of the points, it's less than half, not even half of it's true. It's just exaggerated.
Yeah, but love, the same is happening to me. I have planted bombs in Notting Hill. I am basically white South African. Yeah. I come from Transylvania. I am wanted by the Dutch police. And I downloaded something. It's all crap. Once you make it big, people will try to break you down.
Yeah. Why do you think generally that the mainstream view and Joe Public, why do they view the pagan, like the Thelema, Wicca, Heathenry, why does it have such a negative view from the outside world? Why do you think that is?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not interested. I don't know what the Kanai thinks. It's not in my remit to interface with their small minds.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately I
just can't be bothered with them.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
Well, that's Crowley. That's Crowley's views as well, I think.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I mean, I have gone on record as saying, somebody asked me what I thought of Crowley a couple of years ago, and I haven't done the biographical research that you've done, Paul, but, we've got to remember the time frame. I mean, you're entering into decadence in art, and you're looking at the breakdown of the previous social order. Therefore, that was really dominating the intellectual sphere at the time.
Yeah.
If we put him in context, I mean, he's quite a national treasure in all sorts of ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Freya's right. She's really followed very clearly in those footsteps.
Yeah, I mean,
again, she's left out things like she's an interfaith minister.
Right.
I mean, she's definitely followed her will as far as that's possible in the modern world.
Yeah. I mean, regarding just to clarify my views on Crowley, I mean, some people listening say, oh, this or that. I don't know the guy. I wasn't like a fly on his wall and stuff. I'm only just going by the image portrayed about him. If you don't like someone, fair enough, don't like them, don't read their books, and don't recommend them to your friends, but don't make up stuff. That's what drew me to the work to begin with. I read some of these bits and pieces from Crowley or from Israel Regardie and a lot of these occult books, and I suddenly thought to myself, well, hang on, these guys aren't nearly as bad as everyone's making out, and it actually encouraged me to read them more. It's the lies that I think are wrong and stuff. If you don't like the guy, if he doesn't inspire you, no problem, but don't make up stuff, and it's like about you, if people don't like Freya's work, they don't have to go and read it, but to make up stuff saying that she's putting bombs here and doing this or doing that.
Yeah, I was in Searchlight. That was in Searchlight.
Yeah.
David knows about Searchlight.
Yeah. Well, they seem to take great pleasure in slander, which is quite an amazing phenomenon in the modern world. Please check your facts, but nobody seems to be bothered in checking facts anymore. Yeah. The power of the story is more important than the truth of the story, and certainly Freya has suffered. Maybe it's heathenry in general. I mean, I noticed in various so-called pagan magazines a certain prejudice towards heathenry. And that in itself is interesting. I mean, Freya, this is your subject, my dear. What do you want to say about that?
Well, I Forget about humble. I fucking now claim credit for opening up heathenry and bringing it into the occult community. I was the first one lecturing about the runes and the Norse gods.
Yeah, yeah.
I was and because everybody in the 80s, everybody knew I was in that coven and I had a Wiccan background, I got in no problems. Any other Odinist would have had a fucking hard job making it acceptable in the generic pagan community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think about all this, Paul? Have you noticed anything like that, or?
But I'm now talking the early 80s. It's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, I think recently there's, with a lot of Hollywood films and, well, when I say recently, within sort of this generation, it's been a lot in Hollywood and stuff. So you get a lot of people that like the fashion of it, all the occult, like the symbols and stuff, and a lot of people wearing them without knowing what they actually mean, which could be from a subconscious level that they are coming around to it, you know, on some kind of level. But it certainly seems to be becoming more socially adaptable than it used to be. You know, that's how it appears to me. In a way, it's
yeah, but it also becomes more watered down.
Well,
the mysteries are not occult anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I have heard people say that it's becoming too much of a fashion rather than a religion. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, certainly Freya has performed unique services to the pagan community.
Well, this is people like Freya. That's why you need people like Freya to keep that heart and soul of it alive, and to hopefully bring new people to carry it on.
She's reopened an initiatic path which had been closed to my mind for centuries, and her work with the runes is almost legendary now. But Paul, I think you ought to. I mean, I'm sort of getting on top of Freya with the runes. I've done so much reading on it recently. Maybe you should ask her about the runes, so we don't end up with these endlessly technical questions. Ask from the heart, because Freya speaks from the heart. Yeah. She works from the heart.
Well, there's one. This is a question that always comes up for me, because I. Particularly in the conspiracy movement with occult, the occult perception. But when you look at the hierarchies and the governments of the world, you see certain occult symbolic imagery that you think, well, this looks magical. This is obviously coming from, for me, it seems it's coming from some sort of order, be it some Freemasonic order or whatever it may be. Do you think that the elites, the high up government, do you think there is a secret order where they have got a lot of knowledge with this and do keep it a secret? Do you buy into that?
Well, yes, but not quite.
Right.
In the same way everybody else does.
Yeah.
I think that the orders, there is a hidden hand behind all what happens in the world, and has been so for probably since Sumeria, or if not earlier.
Yeah.
And there are certain powerful bloodlines whose people are running the world.
Yeah.
If you understand, the Illuminati, so to speak.
Yeah, well, that's the commercial term for them nowadays. Yeah.
I think there is an internal struggle going on between them themselves. I think there is two groups. There is one group that is the Monsanto, Big Pharma, Big Ag group.
Yeah.
And then there is the other group, the group of occult initiates who work on the inner plane for the benefit of mankind. These are the true Illuminatis. These are the true bloodlines of the spiritual hierarchy, be they Anunnaki or be they Odin and other gods. There are stories in every mythology about the gods mixing with humans. Now, whether they're extraterrestrials or whether at the time humans were, the energy of the physical bodies of humans were more suited to this kind of interacting. We don't know, but obviously there are other forces in the world than just the human interest and the human mind.
Right. Okay. That's very interesting. Yeah. It makes sense because I've discussed with people before. With there's such power at the top.
Look,
I find it difficult that they will get on.
I had things going on in my childhood.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And at the same point, I was locked up and all that. On the other hand, I've always enjoyed protection.
Yeah.
Real weird stuff.
Yeah. So do you think that your pagan path it has helped you protect from these negative powers at the top? Do you think that's the future that people can escape from the Illuminati's New World Order? You think they could, if people were to embrace that sort of initiation on the positive side of it? Do you believe that is the way forward for people, or is it still just for a select few?
It will always be for a select few.
Yeah.
That is just the nature of it, yeah. But you're gonna get a lot more pop occultism. And that for some people, that is the way in. Like, some people come into the rooms by reading Ralph Bloom. Yuck. But it opens door to other, more interesting pursuits in the rooms. You know, it doesn't really matter. It's an entrance portal.
Interesting. What do you think of that, David?
I'm not going to argue with the mistress of runes about anything. Freya, would you tell us more about how you started with the runes and how you developed into a mistress, a master of that particular subject?
Well, I don't know. I was having this coven. I was running this coven, and somebody applied to join. And me and some other coven. Well, it was basically, there was a festival, and we were asked whether we could put up some people who were coming over from Wales, which we did in the Enclave. And this bloke, Russell Scott, he was into the runes. And that was the first, he talked about it. And I wasn't that interested. But later on, he took me to a lady in, I don't know where the Scientologists live. Yeah, East Grinstead. And she did a rune reading. And she had a bit of paper with the meaning of runes and the runes laid out. And as soon as I touched the actual runes, that was it. It was like, bang, a download. And I knew the runes. I was a master from then on.
Yeah.
It was a massive download.
And how has that affected the rest of your work, Freya, particularly your writings? I mean, your extraordinary book, The Seeds of Yggdrasil. You know, how has it affected?
That is the leaves of Yggdrasil.
Leaves, forgive me. Yes, that was a joke. That was a joke.
Get it right, David. Come on.
That was a joke because it was another book that came out recently, and Freya said to me she should have written it.
Oh, right.
So Freya, the Yggdrasil. Leaves. Tell us, how has all of this affected the rest of your work?
I don't know.
Right.
It's mainly from the subconscious. I just open up and come out with things.
Yeah.
It's much like writing a song, is that right? Where you write the song and then afterwards you sort of think, oh, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
And you pick up things from the runes on the physical level, the psychic level, the spiritual level?
Yes.
And what do you tell everyone everything about a reading that, you know, when they come to you for a reading, or do you keep back horrible facts? What's your attitude?
No, they get it.
Right.
That's what, you know.
Yeah.
But usually I am able to provide a solution as well.
Yeah.
Did you develop your psychic abilities, or did you always have them?
I've always had them.
Okay, and you always knew what they were, or you kind of thought, oh,
I knew I was different. Yeah. I knew at a very young age. Yes, I knew I had to survive. I needed these abilities.
yeah. Do you believe that most people or everyone can do it? It's just a case of training themselves, or is it too difficult for some?
I really don't know. Some people say it's only people of specific bloodlines who are born that way.
Yeah.
Others say everybody can learn this. I really don't know. I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, because both could be true. Whatever the bloodlines are, with all the shagging around, they have been so disseminated all over the world that by now everybody probably has the genetic component in order to be psychic.
Yeah. Yeah, and is it something that's constantly with you, or is it just a phase that you'll go through at some stage? You'll feel something, or is it something you're always?
It's always there. It's always there.
Yeah.
In the background, like a plug in the base of the neck.
Right. Okay.
But I have absolutely no control over it.
Yeah.
Freya, I can vouch for that. Freya and I were recently speaking from the same platform in Madrid, and I saw her shaking nearly uncontrollably towards the end of it all. And I was terribly worried she was cold. And she said, no, it's Odin trying to come through. And I thought, my heavens, there's never a point where she doesn't stop. She's an amazing lady.
Right.
Now, about this Odin coming through, we're talking about a mind merge. We're not talking about possessionary work, drinking volumes of alcohol and coming out with regurgitated stuff read a few weeks ago.
Right, well...
I mean, also this is developed by the fact Freya's such a natural performer. I mean, the first time we worked together was for one of my initiatives. We held a couple of years back something I decided to call the London Thing, because it was playing on the idea of an ancient Germanic council, a thing.
Yeah.
Ting. And the fact it sounded 60s and trendy, the London Thing. And Freya brought the place to life as usual. She had such a voluminous variety of sources to draw on. I think it stunned everybody. And a dear friend of mine, the anthropologist Richard Rudgley, who will actually be on the podcast in a couple of weeks, saw Freya struggling with her iPad, forgive me, and whispered to me, if anyone thinks technology is destroying the art of communication, they need to see Freya with her iPad.
Right.
Yeah.
She's a natural performer. She turns bad things to good. She's terribly misunderstood as the cultural presence that I intend to explain in this forthcoming book. Mm-hmm. She's very, very much iconic from that particular time and needs to be accredited with her rightful place in the pagan community.
Right. Have you got like a website or anything like that we can let our listeners know about?
Yeah, the website is www.wanderwithwodan@aswyn.com.
Okay.
Just aswyn.com.
I'll put a link on that on our website as well, so people can link to that.
Yeah.
What about future works, Freya? Any other books being planned?
No, not really. I don't know. It's difficult.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because
the thing is, when I wrote my book, it wrote itself, really. It's not, this is why I've only written one. The other one being an adaptation of the first one.
Yeah.
I can't just write books for the sake of writing books. It's got to flow, and if it doesn't, I can't write.
Also, if any of our listeners was interested to explore heathenry or any other pagan religion, what would your advice be for them to make a step forward into doing that?
I would suggest they get in touch with the Pagan Federation, which is a safe environment to move in till you find what really suits you.
Okay, well, we'll put a link there as well for any listeners that might want to explore it a bit further.
You know, unlike Wicca, and I'm very Wicca friendly in more ways than one, as some people know.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I mean, and even if there was a New Forest Coven, I mean, where is all this coming from? Heathenry can trace its origins back to the dawn of time.
Yeah.
You know, there are historical evidences which easily demonstrate what we're talking about millennia after millennia into the past. What amazes me about Freya is her sensitive, imaginative connection with all these things and her way of bringing it back into the modern world.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone else quite like that.
Well, that probably it is to do with bloodlines. Apparently, I am descended from the Vosengar.
Oh.
I can't prove it. It's been said 3 times by 3 mediums in 3 different countries, so it's likely to be true.
What David just said just brought me to another question, because obviously Wicca, when it sort of came around in the 50s and was like a sort of a revolution, like it was, you're free to let people know you're a witch, especially because of the law that was changed. I can't remember what the actual law was called. The witch
blasphemy law. So.
Yeah, it was illegal to be a witch, basically. I can't remember the actual name. But that was dropped in the 50s, and obviously that's what allowed Wicca to blossom and to be free. But prior to that, what about things like heathenry, and even going back to Aleister Crowley, the OTO Thelema? Because ultimately that could have still been looked as witchcraft and doing that same thing. Why was that not prosecuted there, or not regarded as Wicca or being witches? Do you know? Have you got any ideas why?
Well, Aleister Crowley has been prosecuted, or he was always up and down the court with
I see, right. So
like that.
So basically,
Whether they are the Golden Dawn, which and other orders of that time, they were practicing magic, yes, but they wouldn't be prosecuted because they were all rich people. They were all the aristocracy and the upper classes. They don't get prosecuted. Little Wiccans with a spliff hanging out their mouth, oh yeah, they'll have them.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, yeah. And
these people got money, of course they don't get prosecuted. The way of the world, mate. Nowadays, luckily, blessedly, the majority of people involved in the occult are working class, and they have a lot more common sense and have a lot less this competitive drive to keep up and be better than anyone else, what you find in the middle classes. The middle classes are always competing.
Right. Yeah. So anything you'd like to add, David?
Well, I mean, to clarify maybe something that was too much of an inward joke a little earlier, it was actually Maria, forgive my pronunciation, Maria, if you're listening, Kvilhaug.
Who wrote the book Seeds of Yggdrasil?
Seeds of Yggdrasil. And it was a joke because Freya said to me when I said, this is a good book, you should have done that. And she said, I know I should have.
Well, what it is, occultly, basically, it is the same connection. Whoever influenced and helped me inspire to write my book, presumably Odin, also, or one of the other. What I'm saying is, it's like a spiritual succession. When I lost the ability to write, Maria wrote the next one. It is Leaves of Yggdrasil, Fruits of Yggdrasil, that's an album, and now Seeds of Yggdrasil. So the whole Yggdrasil egregore, the gods themselves and all, are behind these books.
Freya, I have described you in various media as our living vulva. What do you think of that?
Well, when I printed my own book, Leaves of Yggdrasil, I put at the back I was a vulva, right? And I put an ad in as a for rune readings, yeah?
Yeah.
The vulva. I got blokes, Lionel really wound me up over that. I got a bloke phoning me up, and he wanted to confess, and I said, well, I'm not a Catholic priest, but you want to talk about something. Yeah, he said, I want to confess that I've been very naughty and I need spanking. So the way vulva is, of course, well, you know what it is in Latin, right?
Yeah.
So, no, I haven't used that again.
I've also described you in various places as our folk mother, which I think is probably the prime title.
Yes.
Can you discuss how you see that? And also, there was a time when you became the bride of Odin. Would you care to discuss those two things?
Okay, the folk mother there was a folk mother called Elsa Christensen. Okay, she is the first folk mother.
Yeah.
I ended up being hosted by a kindred of which she was involved with in Florida. And in that kindred, I was named folk mother after Elsa.
Yeah.
And that's all. That's all. There's no more to it. About the Bride of Odin, that is a long magical story. And it was, I don't know. There is too much control. And I did it as a one-off private act of dedication at a small group of people. Yeah. And it worked. We did it. And David, if you go around Phil, you can watch the video. He's got a new computer now.
Oh, I must definitely do that.
Watch the video of the wedding, and then write about that. Okay.
Okay, my dear. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there aren't many. I mean, you've got to correct me because you're the authority. Is it true that there's only one bride of Odin at a time, or is there more than one? Or
well, so far as I can't speak for anyone else. Yeah. I only say that I did it in '93 and it was for real, and then other people took the idea and copied it or twisted it. Yeah. And I don't know, the only way you can find out is look at the fruits of their life and their labor, whether they are for real or not.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's only fair comment. Anybody can claim to be married, including me.
Yeah.
Make up your own mind and using intuition, instinct, and above all, common sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
These are the three principles you can deploy examining people's claims. What do you feel?
I mean, that was a perfect answer. One final thing from me. You gave a series of talks that are almost on the verge of urban legend these days at Treadwell's Bookshop.
Yeah.
I've looked at them over and over again on YouTube. They're funny, they're witty, they're very, very knowledgeable. How did you find that experience? And can you see yourself still teaching in that sort of way?
It was awful. Somebody was there with a scream machine. Whack, whack, all the way through. Oh, I can't even listen to it.
Oh, my God. I mean, certainly the material I've seen looks 100% professional, and you look as though you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah, but you can't hear me because there is that screaming.
Right.
Oh, I hate babies. I really hate them.
Yeah.
Give me kittens and puppies anytime.
Well, I mean, I need to add here.
It was very annoying, but it was stupid of me because this woman with the baby was very close, sitting next to me, while the person doing the recording was at the back of the hall, and it should have been the other way around. But you don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, your reputation as an animal lover is well known.
Yeah.
The fact you're a pioneer of a number of experimental communities is less well known.
Right.
Would you care to say anything about the Enclave or any of the other projects that you started in those days?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I need a piss. So I'm gonna have a piss. Okay?
No worries. We'll pause it there. Okay.
The whole opera, okay. Me, as the bride of Odin, that was the culmination of, funny enough, an adaptation of a ritual by Aleister Crowley called Liber Astarte Velberalum. It's a devotional discipline which you do for a number of years, and then you're supposed to reject it and destroy it. At that time, I was engaged in a serious occult war, and I needed the constant presence of Wodan, and that was one way of doing it.
Okay.
But the idea itself, I derived from Voodoo. That's where the original idea came from.
Right.
But I adapted it to a Norse setting. Now, Crowley actually dug up an old ritual, an agricultural ritual, which is authentic in the old days. This is how girls were married to Odin. Afterwards, initially they were killed, but later on they had to wear black for a year and a day and be a widow. It is authentic folklore. It is rooted in authentic practice. And Crowley done the research. He was also the mediator priest at the ritual. And we pulled it off.
May I say, you were one of the originators of bringing voodoo into our way of thinking, our nexus of thoughts. I mean, that's quite a revolution in that.
For somebody who is supposed to be a racist, yes.
Yeah.
Look, both voodoo and heathenry are organically grown religion out of the folk consciousness of their people. What both were suppressed. One survived until the present day. And that's voodoo. So you cut out 1,000 years evolution of the northern tradition, which could not happen because of Christianity. Then you look at a similar framework like voodoo. To fill in the gaps.
I think the fact you've been such a spiritual pioneer is definitely underrated, and it's sort of not as known as I'm going to make it known, I hope. Why were you always at the cutting edge? I mean, researching your life has taught me this. Decade after decade, you were at the cutting edge of what was going on. How, what's your view on that?
I don't know.
Your character, or the fact you're always looking for new things, is that an explanation?
Probably. I'm a Scorpio with Gemini rising and the moon in Gemini, so yeah.
Well, that leads me back to the communities question, Freya. Do you want to say anything about the Enclave or any of the other social initiatives that made a devastatingly good impact on the culture of the time? Do you want to tell us about that?
Well, the Enclave was started with a group of 6 people who jointly bought a house as a housing cooperative. But life as it was, at one point there was me and Lionel, and we had occult meetings there, coven meetings. We had a working group called the Free Spirit, and there's lots of Enclave stories. Why don't you talk to Alison Bear?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I am. I'm talking to her.
It's so long ago, so much other stresses.
Yeah.
You're talking 30 years.
I mean, what amazed me was you're acting as a pioneer. You're looking at different ways of living, different lifestyles.
Oh, yeah. I've always been one for communal living. I've got a small single parent family here with me now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't like living on my own. I like to have my own space, but I don't like living on my own.
Let me ask a difficult question.
Okay.
Why do you think the accusations of racism were thrown at you?
I have no idea.
It's patent nonsense. We both know that. But why do you think?
I think it's a knee-jerk reaction. I think any other person in my place would have gotten exactly the same. I don't think it's that personal. I mean, somebody had to go at Maria.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You're female, you're Nordic, you look it as well. Yeah, you must be a fascist.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Now, we've both met Maria. She's an absolute sweetheart. A warm-hearted, compassionate, good woman with not a right-wing bone in her body.
Yeah.
I mean, if you dig deep enough, you can find something about me and my association with certain musical enterprises. But Maria, she is as clean as a whistle.
Why do you think heathenry is still haunted by these unfair criticisms?
Because there is a large part of heathenry that still subscribes to these kind of political theories.
Okay.
And you know it and I know it.
We're schizophrenic in our part of the pagan movement. I know that. And it's hard to know what to do most of the time. I know that.
There are plenty of hard, white, supremacist Nazis posturing as folkish Odinists, which of course they're not. Folkish Odinists are exactly that. People who worship Odin and love their own people. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that they hate everybody else. Yeah. You mean, I live in Spain and, I prefer to do my business with English, Dutch, or German. Does that make me a racist? I prefer contact with people who speak my language. And whether that language is English or whether that language is metaphysics is a matter of perspective.
Well, it seems the society in general seems very touchy with racism now. It doesn't take you to do much before you're accused of it.
It is an emotive issue. It gets people riled up and fighting among themselves, and they don't look what else is going on. Bread and services.
Well, there's a lot of that in society where, as you say, it's just little squabbles, and you're concentrating on things you shouldn't really be concentrating on. So,
if you want to keep a movement, a powerful, potentially invigorating movement like heathenry, small, you infiltrate it and set various factions against themselves.
Gosh, that seems like the perfect round-off point. Well, I mean, we've got to have Freya back again at some point.
Yeah, I think that's what we need to.
Information. She's one of the original pagan rebels in Britain.
Have you got any new books coming out at all, or anything in the pipeline?
Books? No.
No, right.
No.
But maybe concerts, maybe music?
I don't think so.
Oh,
it doesn't look. Now my voice is completely gone.
Maybe look out for some more Treadwell's talks.
Maybe not Treadwell's.
Without kids there, of course.
No, I've had enough. I've been waging this battle for over 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, I want to focus on my own spirituality, my own development, my painting, my art, reading good books. I've had enough.
Yeah. Wow, that's fair. You've certainly contributed your fair share, so you have a right to do that, I guess.
Oh,
You know, I don't mind doing like this, but, you know.
Well, Freya's contributed much more than her fair share, and we're all in the position we're in today because she was so fearless in the past.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I round off my contribution to this particular. And she has to come back, and we have to explore maybe the more difficult areas.
And just for our listeners, they just know David is a heathen as well. Just I'm sure you've picked up on that.
Oh, I hide nothing. I'm a phenomenologist and a heathen. Do your worst.
Yeah.
I'm also one of these evil universalists. Religion for me comes from the earth, and it comes from the environment, and spirituality is our personal reaction with this vast living organism called the cosmos. And I vive la difference. I love black people. I love yellow people. I love purple people if they were there.
I love all animals.
And I know Freya's the inveterate animal.
I don't love people. I don't trust.
we differ.
I love animals.
Freya's had enough of people, but I'm still a people person.
I'm not.
But maybe I'm thinking of holding another conference at some point soon, but we can discuss all that. I think we need a heathen podcast where we look at the difficult side of it all, and maybe what the outcome of it will all be on a universalist level, how the difference can make us the same, how differences can link us in a broader and greater vision of humanity, because I think it's time that was done.
I question whether that will ever be done.
Well, you're still an idealist.
Yeah, well, I agree. I think human nature.
Cynicism creeps up with middle age, mate.
Yeah. Human nature, it always wants to. It's very tribal. It's us and them. Whatever happens, even if everyone unifies, then there'll be a new unification, and we're this kind of unification, and we're this kind of unification. Then all of a sudden, it's not unified anymore.
But that is the natural order of things.
It seems that way. Yeah, I agree.
It is. It's like a wave, an in-out wave, a centrifugal or central. The other side, it spins either one way or the other. It's back and forwards. It's a rhythm.
Yeah. Well, as long as people behave themselves, I guess that's the important thing.
Oh, you two pessimists! The light is dawning again.
Well, yeah, I agree with optimism, so I love you there.
I'm a realist.
Okay, well, Freya, it's been great having you on the show. We've really enjoyed it, and it would be good to get you back in sometime in the future if you fancy
anytime.
it.
Just give us a day notice.
Excellent. No, we'll certainly be able to give you notice. Yeah.
Maybe some subject matter you specifically want to focus on.
Yeah, that's I mean, as it's a new show we've got going here, so we're kind of just getting as many interesting people on the podcast as we can, and obviously when we had the opportunity to get you on, that was great to get you on. So.
Okay.
Holy Folk Mother, I can't wait till I see you again. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Freya. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Take care, Freya. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
That was enjoyable.
And hopefully controversial. Freya never sits down and never ducks an issue. And what I love about her the most is she's willing to discuss all of it.
Yeah.
A remarkable, remarkable, remarkable lady.
And I think one thing that's come out in this show is your passion for heathenry. I think all our listeners can tell that you are a well and truly passionate heathen, which is good.
If you're a critic, I'm failing fast. If you're a critic of heathenry, I say, up yours, McTavish.
Well,
because
okay.
yes, that's here where I can't remember where that phrase came from. That's where I sort of stand.
Well, I mean, since I've been meeting some of your friends and so forth, I must say I've never met anyone within heathenry, Wicca, or any of that circles that I think are particularly unpleasant. That's just my view. That's our view. Obviously, if there's anyone out there that want to come on and say it's all evil, they're all evil, then come on.
Oh, I'm sure there's some. I mean, we got to be realistic.
We'll
there are bad apples. Well, heavens, well, how interesting. There are bad apples, in every barrel. I mean, I don't think any church, any mosque, any synagogue could claim otherwise.
Yeah.
But in my experience, the good always outweighs the bad. And yes, I am an idealist, Mr. Obertelli, and I'm happy with that.
Well, do you know what I think they should do? They should look to Star Wars, and I think they should invent a new religion that's just for Jedis. And
I'm a Jedi.
Yeah, I'd love to be a Jedi.
Come to the light side of the Force.
Jedi. And you'd soon get your Siths. You'd get your Siths, but I'd stick to being a Jedi. And I think for all our listeners out there, all this stuff, all it really is just teaching you how to be a Jedi. That's what I think.
If you're a Jedi, you get that cool temple and all these wonderful seats, which will be good for my back and my rheumatism.
There you go. See. Well, anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back again soon. Again, any questions you've got or advice, or just want to message us and say hello, please do so on our email info@thapodcast.com, and link our website on your Facebook pages, your Google Plus or your Twitter pages, because we really appreciate the support. Let everyone know about the podcast. More the merrier. More the merrier.
Yeah. Paul, I will speak to you soon, my boy.
Excellent. And we'll be seeing you soon, people. Bye-bye.